Hi, Erica Devins here with the Chamber Orchestra of the Springs, and today we're going to look at Forever Joyful, the Violin 2 part, with tips. All right, so a couple different important articulations in this piece. In the very beginning, we got some notes with some dots on them. This is going to be a sort of off the string-ish sort of staccato feel, right? So we want to basically make a sort of U shape with our bow. We're going to be using mostly our fingers and our wrist on this. See how my fingers move, my wrist moves, not a lot of elbow, right? And that gives me that sort of shape that I'm looking for to create that staccato note. Now, did you see how I did the decrescendo? As the decrescendo is happening in those two measures prior to where we stopped at square 9, I'm going to move my bow closer to the fingerboard. That, along with applying a little bit less weight, will achieve the decrescendo for you. So 2 before 9. So now we have to go from a very short stroke to a very long stroke, right? So then place your bow and just draw. Short. Okay, so now we have another crescendo leading into a forte. Again, we're going to make that forte, or make the crescendo rather, by applying a tiny bit more weight and moving our bow closer to the bridge as we get to near the end of the crescendo. So here's the crescendo. Did you see how I moved through that crescendo? See? So did you notice those eighth notes are slightly different than the eighth notes we've played before? Most of the eighth notes we played before have dots on them. These do not, so they're different. Right? They're just normal. So don't freak out on them. They're just normal. Down, up, down, up, down, up. Right? Here's 63. Okay, so notice here at 67, there's a crescendo poco a poco. So that means we need to find out, well, where does the crescendo end? In this case, the crescendo ends, technically, when we get to 81 at that fortissimo. Most of this crescendo is going to happen near 81, in the few measures before 81. So we need to be very conservative prior to that. So in 67, we're pretty quiet, mezzo piano, or maybe even back it off a tiny bit more. And then gradually get louder, only a little bit though. Hold back. A little bit more. see that? So we want to hold back that crescendo and wait a little bit until the few measures before 81 before we give the most of the crescendo, okay? So here we are, the crescendo 2 measures before 81. And then 81 has those carrot looking accents, right? Those are very heavy marcato sort of accents. So they're very, very strong accent. You want to put a lot of weight on the beginning of your bow when you make these accents, and a lot of speed to your bow as well. Make sure your bow catches each bow down and up. So put a little weight on the down bow, and then think about putting weight as well when you get ready for your upstroke. You should hear that sound before at the beginning of each bow stroke on these accents. In particular, it needs to be very heavy. Also think of the fact that there's a tiny bit of space in between these notes as well. That will help the accent come along as well. Then back to the U. And quieter. Okay, this next section after 89 is legato, which means very smooth, long, and connected, right? It's also piano, so be careful on that G string that you are staying piano and that you're using as much left hand beauty as you can add to this, right? Here we are, 1 measure after 89. 1, 2, 3. There's a crescendo to mezzo piano. Keep it as long and legato as you can. Okay, and then there's a crescendo here leading into this 105, which says gradually becoming more detached and accented. So you notice that you have a dotted half and then 3/4, and that rhythm repeats for the next few measures until 113. So that means every time that you play that motive, you want it to gradually become more detached and accented. So you want to put more space in between the quarter notes, and you want to have a little bit heavier start to your bow stroke as you get closer to 113. So here's 105. It's still legato. Then a little separate. Then more separate and more accent. Right? And then the last ones are short and accented, right? Except I just played an F sharp instead of an F natural, the second to the last one. So make sure that you play the right notes. And here's from the piano at 118. So again, very quiet. It's a piano, right? And then you're going to crescendo all the way to fortissimo in the next 3 measures. So we're going to be very quiet. 1, 2, 3.